Cool. You could do me a favour and take off the lateral trim, which is the black knob right at the bottom of the cycler. The friction. Yes, it was friction. Perfect. Friction is off. Lovely. The reason I wanted you to do that is because we're going to have a look at trimming before once we've got set that. Where's the, this is just the microphone that you're going to need to put in there? Yes. He's a beast, isn't he? Does the bit of fluff come off? It does. Right, okay. Sure, maybe. We'll see how you get on.
You had a really small person in here last time?
Probably, yeah.
I come from the land of the giants.
I've got several quite whip-it-like students at the moment. Okay. Happy with that? Yes. Alright. Don't worry about the headsets just yet. We're going to have a look at trimming first of all. If you ever feel it at the moment, you can feel it's trimmed or it's neutral in that position, yeah? Okay. So what I'm going to do is, I've got the trim at the moment, to the left, is I'm going to pull it back and left a little bit over here, which is kind of like the hover position is about there. If you let go of it, because obviously if you're putting any force onto that, then you're assisting the trim spring. So when you let go, then I won't have trimmed it out properly. But I trim in pulses. And what I do is, you want to trim a couple, have a little feel, think, am I still having to push or pull? Okay. So you follow the force. If you're having to push forwards, you trim forwards. If you're having to push to the right, you trim to the right. Okay? So if I was going to now trim it over here, okay, which I'm going to get you to do, because you've now got the trim, what I want you to do is hold it in your hand, okay, and think, which way am I having to push this? And in short pulses, we never just hold it. The lateral trim goes a lot quicker than the 4.5 one. In other words, you don't need so many pulses laterally as you will 4.5. Not too bad, about there-ish, I think. Okay, if you let it go, it should stay there, and it does. What you want to try not to do, you know how sensitive the cyclic is? Yep. Is to be, because we're going to try and hold it in exactly that position, which is where the skill with trimming comes really, in that when you stop feeling any force, well, that's good enough, isn't it really? Alright? What I don't really like to see, and what a lot of people do, is they go, oh, because it's easier to tell when you let go, okay, but then they kind of, oh, and it starts wobbling around, and then, alright? Yeah, okay. Well, that was well done. If you could trim it back to there for me. Yeah, it'll only be one at a time, there's no, so it's left, right, forward, back. Okay, that's maybe not quite right. Out there, I think. There. Okay, if you let go. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, just trim it back to there for me. Again, short pulses. And the reason I say short pulses, I get very nervous when people hold it down, is the way this works, you can actually see it here, there's a small motor, and a worm gear and some brass cogs in here, and then you adjust in a spring, which is actually there. But if you get to the end of the trim and you're still holding it, what will happen is that worm gear will keep going, it will just strip them off. Okay, so short pulses, and no more than 2 pulses before you actually stop and think, is that about right? Okay, cool. Right, back in the configuration for start. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shout things out, or say things, and I'll talk you through. Do you want to start your camera going? It's already going, yeah? Yes. Fantastic. Okay, first one are your pedals adjusted. They don't go any further away from you, so that's good for you. Okay, seatbelts fitted or stored, we've both got them on. Happy days. Control frictions released. Now I've already taken them off the frictions, well, you took that one off, but I took this one off as well. So they're off the cyclic already, but you can take them off the collective as well if you like. So this is the friction here, you slide that one forwards. All controls full and free. So get into a habit of, I usually start with the side clip and then I do the collective and then the pedals. Find all four corners from this. That's it. All the way to the corner. What you're checking here is anything going to block it? Alright? Good. Great stuff. Collective all the way to the top, all the way back down again. And you're going to watch out for things like wires,
yes,
which you might catch in the scissor. Okay. There we go.
Now, besides doing that, the throttle is actually wanting to open and close on it.
Yeah, it will do, because the throttle friction, if this is twisting, it means it's not correlating.
Okay.
Alright? So what the throttle friction also does is it engages the correlator. So if I'm holding it now, pretending to be the friction,
yep,
that's opening and closing the throttle below. Okay? And if you can feel how much force is required to hold it still as you move, is why sometimes the correlator needs a little bit of help.
Yep.
Because just look how tight you need to have this friction on. So it's on a bit there. So it's still twisting. Still twisting. Still twisting. Still twisting. Yes, you need to really, really crank it on as hard as you can. And now it's just about stopped twisting, but still is kind of a little bit.
Just a little bit,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
Which is why it's not perfect. Ideally, if you can get this friction. Thing is, though, you want to still be able
To move it, yeah.
to move it. Yeah, exactly. So it does two things. A lot of friction makes it correlate better, but it makes it stiffer on the top. Alright? So you lose a little bit of finesse there. Okay? Alright, so the collectors come all the way up and the way back down again, and the pedals, did you use?
Not tried them.
So to make them go to the extremes, that's it, and then the other way. And generally you can look at the controls as you do it. So if you look at the tail rope on the back, okay, and when you're raising and lowering this, you can look at the blade in front. Okay, and if you move in the circuit mode, you can see the swash plate. Okay, alright, good. The collector can go down and friction back on it.
Friction on. Good.
Okay, and then we'll have the cyclic friction back on as well.
Friction.
And when you're doing the cyclic friction, okay, what I want you to do, that's the lateral one you're doing there.
Yeah.
Alright, so if you feel how tight you put it on, we need to be able to still hover with it in case we pop into it.
Okay, so it's already off.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So as you're doing it, give it a little wiggle. Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
And then the 4.5 one is just down here, so you can do the same thing with the 4.5.
Okay. Which way is tightening on that? That's,
Should be that way.
yeah, so that's loosening it. Tighty, loosening.
Yeah. So give it a little wiggle. This one's a little bit slower.
Okay, yeah, I can feel that a little bit more now. Yeah, that's fine.
Good. Okay, so what we've done there is we checked that all our controls are full and free. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is make sure the switches are off, except for certain switches. Okay, so everything should be off that has a switch. Off is down on this panel. Okay. Mounts are off, batteries off, alternators off. The only thing that should be switched on is the beacon. Okay. But everything else you can see is off. Yeah.
Yep.
All the circuit breakers should be in. All right.
Very fun.
Great stuff. The mixture control should be to idle cut off. In other words, give it a little pull, make sure it's all the way out. Great stuff. Okay, and we're going to knock the battery on. So you can flip the battery up.
Battery on.
And the first thing I usually look at when I put the battery on is the fuel state. Okay, how much fuel would you say we've got there?
Just under 20 gallons, so maybe about 18 or so there.
18, something like that. I'll be with you on that. Cool. And the reason I look at that is because if you haven't got enough fuel, well, now's the time, isn't it, before we before we go any further. So the battery's on. Okay, we're going to put our headsets on. It says headsets on, passenger only. Well, you're the pilot and I'm the instructor, neither of us are a passenger.
Okay.
So if you had a passenger, tell them to put the headset on, but that's not us. And we're going to check the bulbs in our lights. So you're going to check the low fuel light. Okay, so sometimes, yeah.
It's on. And then this one.
Yeah, the tail rudder transmission chip light. Okay, and make sure you can see it. So I usually do it like that. But that's fine, however you... Cool. The next one is the low RPM warning horn. So you're going to give that a quick flip. And that does two things. It tests it, and if it's going off and you want to stop it, you can press it and it mutes it as well.
Okay.
Okay. The main rotor transmission temperature and pressure warning light should be on.
Yeah.
That's that one. And the low voltage light should be on. And you notice it hasn't mentioned this one, because not all Schweizers have a low RPM system. Clutch control should be set to release with the light on. So down on the bottom here, we've got release, hold, and engage. So it is all the way down, and the light is on. Okay. That's the end of the first section. We come to section 2, engine starting. The fuel shut-off valve can go in. That's that one. All the way in. You push the little knob on the end. Lovely. And then what we're going to do is going to make sure the throttle is closed by closing it all the way, and you'll feel there's a detent spring. So if you twist the throttle closed, you feel a spring?
Yes.
Yeah.
Spring there.
So there's no point. Basically, we call that the idle detent. In other words, if I hold it into the spring, I can raise the collective without opening the throttle. But for what we want, that you can think of the edge of the spring, if you like, as fully closed or idle. So we've set it to idle, and then you're going to open it approximately ½ an inch. Okay, and if you have a look down, that label should be kind of pointed up to you. Right there, lovely. Okay, great stuff. So we've set the throttle. What we're going to do is switch the fuel boost pump on, and we're going to check the fuel pressure. That should come up into the green, and it does. And then because the engine's cold, you look at that one for the engine temperature, there's nothing reading on that at all, so we're going to say it's cold. We're going to prime this for 5 seconds. So mixture goes in for 5 seconds and then out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Back out again, and then the fuel boost pump can go off.
There, that's that one.
Yep. There we go. Lovely. Nothing will start without sparks, so we want our magnetos set to both.
Okay.
Lovely. And now we're going to close the throttle, because otherwise it's like having your car out of gear and then you start the engine with your foot on the gas, it'll race away. So close the throttle just for the idle stop. That's it. Lovely. Great stuff. We're going to make sure the beacon's on, so we need to warn people that we're about to start making some noise. Okay. And you saw me looking around there. We're going to make sure the area is clear. We've got Charles over there. Yeah. Okay. He's not going to be an issue. Nothing's really going to move apart from the engine. We're going to make sure we've got no one with their ear over the exhaust. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is a little sequence, which is going to end up with us checking the oil pressure. You're going to press this button on the end of here. Okay. That starts the starter motor cranking. It's going to crank over, and when the fuel mixture gets just right, it's going to cough. Okay. Maybe not quite like that, but the engine will start to run. When the engine starts to run, with your right hand, you're going to push that in, and pretty much as soon as you finish pushing that in, you're going to let go with your finger. Okay. Now there's maybe a slight pause between pushing that in and letting go. If you let go too soon, the engine will stop, and if you don't let go soon enough, you'll be hanging it on the starter motor. In other words, the engine wants to run, but you've still got the starter engaged, and so it's kind of stopping it from going. Alright, so the correct thing is to hold it in, crank, 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 cough, push, release. Okay?
Okay.
So we'll do that. Then we're going to just give the RPM a tiny little tweak to get it to here and check the oil pressure. Alright? So if you want to start off by, that's it, the right hand on there, because it won't take very long. So.
Sorry.
Alright, so it coughed. Alright, it coughed, and we didn't push that in, but now it is running, and then we're also hanging it on the starter. So that time we did pretty much everything wrong we could, but we started the engine, so we had a success. What we do now is tweak that just a little bit, finger down, just a little bit to get it up to 1300 RPM, which is the end of my finger. A little bit more. A little bit more. Perfect. Lovely. And the last thing, check the oil pressure. It has to be more than 25 psi within 30 seconds. Okay?
Okay.
Good. Now we can put our headsets on.
Run up on top, otherwise it'll, there we go, good, good, good. Otherwise it'll slowly slide off. Good! Okay, it happens quite quickly, doesn't it, with the engine start? It does, when you watch the video back, you'll be like, oh, it started for quite a while, you'll be able to see it all. So watch that a couple of times and you'll be well prepared for the next one. Okay, so the last thing we did was check the